to another edition of the Her Hoop Stats podcast right here on the Her Hoop Stats podcast network. I am Christy Winters Scott, joined as always by my road dog, Helen Williams in the building. What's going
In the
on?
building, old school.
You don't have to do it. How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain. Basketball season started on Monday, and I was supposed to be working, but I spent all day watching basketball.
That's all right. Hey, this is a fluid situation here with the basketball season starting, the schedules coming at us. I mean, we're both freelancers, so it's just boom, 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 which is great, right? But
Yes.
it has started, and I've just been so excited. I mean, it's like the holiday season super early, for basketball fans. So this is like opening up your presents on whatever holiday you celebrate morning, and just being kind of really super excited to see what's in the packages. And I tell you what, all the conferences and across the country, I mean, there's so much excitement for the non-conference portion of this season, Helen. And I will say that I have some games circled. I know you do too, but a lot of them, I mean, I cover the Big Ten. You're mostly ACC, SEC, but at the same time, there are so many cross matches in those conferences to start the season, especially in the Big Ten and especially with USC. And I'm just going to start with them because it just feels like to me they have the most power-packed non-conference portion of the season in all three of the conferences that I just talked about.
Yeah, I mean, and this is you have to give them credit for doing this, finding out early who you are, who you're not, what you can do, what you can't do. But let me just read off with it. They're playing NC State, South Carolina, at Notre Dame. UConn is part of their non-conference, but then once you get into conference, you got to play against ranked teams: UCLA, Maryland, Michigan, Ohio State got votes. So, going to be interesting. I'm like, did you make that before JuJu got hurt, or? Like, well, so gonna be good for them though. I think they'll be battle tested by the time they get to you in the Big Ten.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, Lindsay Gottlieb, I mean, she's built for this, and she knows that her team is also built for these kinds of challenges outside of the conference. And they have new pieces. Although, yes, we know that unfortunately JuJu Watkins won't be playing this season as she continues to rehab from her ACL injury from the end of last season. But when you're looking at what Lindsay Gottlieb does have in the stable, I mean, the cupboard is not bare. They have some really great 5-star freshmen that have walked through that door, but they also had a lot of players that garnered a lot of experience with their minutes on the court last year for the Trojans.
Yeah, I mean, freshmen, obviously, everybody knows Jazzy Davidson, but you've got Milton, you've got Williams. You get freshman class, 6'1", 6'5", 6'2", Iwuchukwu, 6'3", right? You got Kara Dunn coming in from Georgia Tech, who's a bit undersized, but a tremendous, has just tremendous pursuit of the rebounds, especially on the offensive end. And then, London Jones coming over from UCLA. So, I watched their press conference, and they were asking her kind of what her identity was going to be. And she said she spent a lot of time watching the pros, and that they were going to be, positionless, more versatile. So I am actually really looking forward to watching them play and seeing how she's adjusted to the new talent that she has coming in.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, when you have the versatility of her depth and her rotational pieces that she can plug and play in all 5 spots, especially with, she's talking about, to your point, having a more wide open offense where things are just moving and popping and cuts are being made, screens are being set, or ghosts.
Which you and I both love.
I love that because you have to make reads. And I always watch, everything that my algorithm tells me is all basketball stuff. So I love that too. But this Kobe interview popped up this morning, and I was listening to him talk about, the triangle offense and how, it looks like one thing, but you can counteract off of every single action. And that's what makes it tough to guard. So I think to that point, I think Lindsay Gottlieb might be living in that warehouse in terms of what she's going to be operating schematically on the offensive side for the team because it's tough to guard. Like, okay, it's set up this way, but you can make multiple reads off of any entry point. So the point of attack could be this one thing, and you've scouted for that. But then now it could branch off into five different things that you have not accounted for as an opponent. And then now you can cook.
Yeah, and that's why in an offense like that, you don't want to teach players to just run plays.
Exactly.
You want to teach them. You want to grow their basketball IQ so that they can make good decisions on the floor, and then obviously once they make those good decisions, the tremendous athleticism and ability and skill set come in.
There you go.
But you don't want to have to say go here, go there. You give them a starting point, you teach them all the different options, and then you let them go from there. Less coaching during the game, more coaching during practice,
Yeah.
but hopefully it flows better.
Yeah, no doubt. I know we both coach. So I know I used to tell my point guards when they looked over at me, and I'm like, don't look over here. Like, and not in a mean way, but it's like figure it
Can't do
out.
anything for you.
Figure it out. Like, and then you're looking over here, you're about to get your pocket picked. Like,
Yep.
pay attention. You know what I mean? But I love my girls; those are my babies. But listen, I wanted them, like you said, to play organic. I wanted them to play free. I wanted them to make reads so that their basketball acumen can grow and their knowledge of making proper reads and having the boldness, but also the wisdom to make the proper reads out of actions if teams take it away. If they're overplaying, then oh my God, make a read, go back to set a pin down. Like just go set a screen. Like you have to be moving without the basketball. You cannot stare at the point guard like, what are we running? Oh my God. And you do initially, maybe. Okay. Point guard has to come down. Hey, get into this. Boom. And then after that, let's just hoop. And I think there's a lot of beauty in that, especially when everyone's on the same page. So USC, that's what I'm going to be looking for offensively from them. But also defensively, you can also have that same freedom and that organic, if you will, read and counter reads on the defensive side too, because of the versatility. What do you see defensively from USC?
Just, I mean, the length, the length and the ability to move laterally with that length. I
Yeah.
think for USC is going to allow them to, do some switching. You're going to have people that can guard more than one position. So again, they don't have to. They're not locked into one thing and one
Right.
player.
Right.
Same as on the offensive end. So it'll be interesting to see. And usually, your defense is a bit ahead of your offense at the beginning of the year.
Oh,
Case in point, Duke the other day. So that's something that you can always communicate about and get right earlier. The offense is, the flow is going to come. People have to know about spacing, and if Christy's here, I need to be there, that kind of thing. But the defensive end is where a lot of teams hang their hat at the beginning of the season.
yeah, and that's very true, and it's unfortunate because as a coach, you want to work on both things. So your defense is working so hard
I
to take
know.
these actions away. But it's like that's why in football there's a defensive coordinator. When I was coaching, we had a coach that was, he's always trying to mess up my my offensive stuff that I was trying to feed the team, and I'm like, okay, but that grew me, right? So I'm like,
Sure.
oh, maybe teams will do that to us, right? We go 5-on-0, go down, run a set with no defense and then come down to a surprise defense, right? And he would throw a lot of defenses. Jerry Liscombe, that's my guy. I appreciate you. But no, it made me work, right? It made me try to figure out, but it also had our players recognize what they need to attack and where and when to attack whatever defense that they saw there. So that's a great drill. And I obviously miss coaching bringing that up, but but it is ahead of what you want to do offensively. But I think it is because you want to get your defensive foundation set first. And that's what you work on first in summer. And now you're trying to throw in these offenses and then now you're blitzing actions and they're like, oh snap, and stuff gets a little rickety on the offensive side because of that. But I'd rather have my defense solid first anyway, right? Because your offense, you might not make shots, even if you're running things properly, you might miss those shots. So you got to be able to stop somebody and try to get some live ball opportunities, get some fast break situations, which I think USC could definitely do very well. But JuJu, they just awarded her Player of the Year award the other day in their first game, and just to see her smiling and back. I know she wants to play, but always good wishes for JuJu. in her healing, both physically and mentally, because that is a challenge. In those hurdles, you think you cross one, and then there's one that's 10 feet higher. You got to cross that one too. So there are a lot of mental hurdles ahead for her in that. But I know that she's a stalwart, and her competitive fire is unmatched. So, what did you see from JuJu when she got that award the other day in the middle of the court in front of everybody and got all that love from the fans?
Yeah, I think for her, I think it was a smart decision because it's you come back that next year after an ACL, and case in point, Olivia Miles. One of the reasons she came back was
Yeah.
she said, I felt okay, but I wanted to make sure that I was back. And it's that second year after you come back from the ACL where you can really shine. So I thought it was smart of her. I think she is very aware that there are going to be some days where you and I have both been injured, where you're doing your rehab, and it doesn't seem like anything is improving. It's minuscule, and if you don't do the rehab, you're going to have that minuscule, that improvement, and then all of a sudden you have breakthroughs, but then you have setbacks too. So I think she's the type of person that is using this as a learning opportunity. This is life's going to be like this. Basketball's not going away. I'm just for a year. I can't play, and she'll use it as a way to get better because obviously she'll be on the bench. She'll see the game from a different perspective. So I think it was smart for her to go. You know what? I'm gonna take the year off and come all the way back.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it firsthand with my daughter. Sat out last season with an ACL injury from the previous year, but I think it was the best thing for her as well. Even though during the games I'd be right there anyway, even if she wasn't playing on the court, she was still operating as a leader over there. She had the clipboard. She was talking up her teammates and everything like that. But then there were times where things weren't going right on the floor, and the game's going on down there, but we would catch eyes, and it would be like, oh, and I would feel it, Helen, like to the core of my soul. But then I was glad I was there, to kind of be like, you got this, like breathe that out, like you said, 10 deep breaths, just, like, get yourself reset. But it is a challenge. And I think it's more of a mental challenge than it is anything else. I mean, obviously it's a physical injury, a mechanical injury with ligaments and everything like that. And I do understand that. But I do think there's a lot of physical trust factor at the back end of that. And like you said,
Yeah,
with Olivia Miles and now with Juju and also with Bree, it's just, for them to be able to overcome every aspect of the healing is quite a challenge. And I think, they're all built for it, obviously, but at the same time, those tough days were pretty rough. They're pretty rough.
yeah,
All you want to do is hoop, man. And that's not who you are necessarily, but it's who you become through all the challenges. But then you're missing a component of your personality, like your DNA,
right.
like your outlet, So I know it's very frustrating, but I know also that we've seen so many players come back and do well. I know Brittany Sykes, for one, had two ACLs when she was at Syracuse, and now she's killing it in the
Yeah,
W's.
she's killing it in the
Yeah.
WNBA.
So we've seen evidence. So I think that's also something that kind of lights the path for those players. So speaking of lighting a path, UCLA all the way to the Final Four last year didn't do what they wanted to do. Obviously, getting over that hurdle with UConn in the way there, but UCLA, I think there's some fire in that belly there with this team. And Cori Close, I'm gonna tell you what, if she were not coaching basketball, she would be on some motivational tour to speak to people and speak to their purpose and speak to their character. Just listening to her always fires me up. I don't care if it's 5 minutes at a shoot around or post game pressers. Cori Close is going to bring you some fire and energy, and you better be ready to listen when she's speaking, because she is spitting some fire into your soul with what she can say to you to get you on the right path. What do you see that she has probably said to this team, or what would you say to this team after the Final Four run last year?
Yeah, I would say there's five things that they have. They have the stars, right? They have the depth.
Yeah.
They have a rigorous schedule, so they'll test themselves non-conference, Oklahoma, UNC, Texas, Tennessee, and then they have the experience. So in
Right.
terms of postseason play, and not just the players, the coaches have that experience too, having gone through
Mm.
their preparation for the Final Four. So, the minuscule things that we need to change. We know what we didn't do well in that game against UConn, right? So we know what we need to get better at. They spent time over the summer getting better at it, and they returned, let's see, 69% of the scoring and 59% of the rebounding. And it's kind of like you have everything you need this year. So there's also an element of Coach Close dealing with that pressure too, right? They always say pressure is a privilege, right? But you
Well,
have what you need to get to the Final Four again. You have what you need to win the whole thing.
right.
Can we put it all together?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, they're obviously missing some of their rotational pieces off the bench. And a lot of the bench players, I mean, and this is not begrudging that style at all, because I would say, hey, we have 4.5 players, or we have 6.5 players that we want to have heavy minutes, right? And that half player was like, I don't know how we go, but it depends on how they were being covered. Anyway, but for them, Cori Close didn't go deep into her bench. A lot of coaches don't go more than 7 with double figure minutes on the court. And then that tightens even more so in March, right? Because now if you do go 9 and those 2 players outside of the top 7 play less than 10 minutes, they probably are not going to play at all come March. So when you said their rotation is something that is a bonus, what specifically did you mean by that with this team for this year after losing some players in the transfer portal?
Yeah, well, you had Ledger Walker, who was injured, who'll be back this year. Neepkins, who came over from, I forget where she came from, but she was 50, 40, 90, right?
Yeah.
So she's gonna spread the floor. And
Mhm.
somebody that people don't talk a lot about, and maybe just because I was a walk on, I didn't play a lot, but the Jaquez kid, she is the
Beast.
kind of like the glue to that team. Like everything she does is it's not going to show up on the stat sheet, but they need her
Mhm.
on the floor. So it'll be interesting to see how they integrate. Obviously, the 2 new pieces, but also her as well. And then I think Betts, Sienna Betts was injured, missed the first game, but I'm excited about what that high low might look like, right? And I think they put enough pieces where Lauren Betts is not going to see a whole lot of triple teams, right? Because you've got people that can spread the floor a little bit, so a little bit better. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, the sister act there. I love the fact that they're going to have an opportunity to play again with one another as they did in high school when they were in grade school and all of that. But at the same time, Kiki Rice. I mean,
I was just going to say that is a key piece.
yes.
Uh, Her showing up when the lights are brightest is a key piece of UCLA being successful or not.
Yeah, what do you want to see specifically from her in terms of her ability to shine when the lights are up?
Last year I would like to see her just be more aggressive about being the woman in crunch time.
Ah.
Right? That's very general, but I just felt like I've seen her play since high school, and I
Mhm.
know she has a skill. I just have never felt like she has been aggressive and well, I should say confidently aggressive
Okay.
offensively to take over and give them what they need when other things aren't happening. I would like to see her be more aggressive and more confident in crunch time.
Got you. And I know, a lot of times she was ball dominant, right? She was running the one. Do you think she'd be more free if she were off the ball a little bit? And not all the time, but just
Yeah.
sometimes, like get off the ball and then bring her off screens, get her downhill. And I'm not trying to overcoach Cori Close as a savant, but to your point
No,
though,
but you make a
get
good
off the
point.
ball? Does she need to be off the ball to get more opportunities to display her aggressiveness? Because sometimes when you have the ball all the time, you're setting the table for everyone else to eat, right? So now you need to get off the ball, and then now you can produce a little bit more.
I think that would be a great adjustment, but I also think there were some opportunities last year where she should have just been more aggressive, getting downhill and
Okay.
getting to the cup. And that's not to say that she's not talented because she's got a
No,
beautiful skill set.
absolutely.
But either way, she needs to be scoring more in crunch time.
Okay. Yeah, maybe, some two-player action, a little bit more of that. And like you said, with bets, bring her off that block, get them in two-player action and make reads like we were talking about. Stay organic
Yep.
with it. And make reads after reads and adjustments and counter moves and things like that, counter decisions. I'm intrigued to see what that looks like for UCLA. And I saw them at Media Day, and it was Betts and Rice, Lauren Betts, her younger sister, came in.
You gotta say which one now.
I know, and
Yeah.
now I have to specify which Betts I'm talking about. But it was Lauren Betts and Kiki Rice who were over there chatting with us, and they said, you know what, we're not even really, overly thinking about last year's run,
Excuse me.
right? Bless you. We're not thinking about last year's run necessarily. We know we did it, and that team with those players on the roster, that uh, I guess that iteration of UCLA basketball was last year. Now we have a
Right.
new opportunity with a clean slate, having that experience, of course, but they're not sitting in that same place mentally. I think they have put that to the side, like clapped that up. We did that last year, okay, but now we have another opportunity to define legacy of this year's team, and I think that is refreshing to hear. Mentally, I know that's good, just to kind of release what happened last year. Whether even if they had won it, they were gonna have to release it anyway, right? It's a new opportunity to compete. So I think this UCLA team, for what they did last year, are going to be more confident because of how deep they went into the Final Four and all of that. But I also think with the addition, like you said, to so many players who are going to spread the floor around Lauren Betts, it's going to be hard to pinch off and go blitz on that lane line when Lauren Betts gets it. I mean, she's 6'7", number one. So good luck with that. We've seen, I mean, she's probably seen every defensive scheme anyway, right? But now I think it's even going to be more difficult for teams to scheme against her because of how they're going to be able to operate on the offensive side.
Yeah, I mean, the only way to do is to take her space away once she gets the ball. But people are she's going to have people opposite her that can knock that down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you kind of like pick your poison. Yeah, I want to go take her space away so she can't move. But if you're late with that, just a millisecond, she's a good enough passer. She's going to see where you're coming from, and people are
Right.
going to knock down shots. So like I said, the spacing is going to be a lot better, and it will be interesting to see how defenses adjust this year to UCLA.
If you were coaching against UCLA, how would you guard that?
Oh my God!
I heard you say take the space. You're not saying that.
You know what? I would. The only way to do that is to go at Betts and try to get her in foul trouble and sit her on the bench. Because I mean, once she's there, you're not going to knock her off her spot,
Yeah.
But if you can force her to defend and maybe get some early fouls and get her on the bench, I mean, because I'm sure everybody's tried everything. Now, if you have somebody that's 6'7" with her, like how many
Okay.
teams have another 6'7" kid
Many.
that could go one-on-one with her on either side of the court? Maybe that too, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Not many.
just not having her on the floor is really the best way.
I feel you. Pump fake, baby, and sell it and get into the bottom. Yeah. Lift them up and get into them. Yeah. Absolutely. But I agree with that. But I also agree with maybe, it's got to be the perimeter defense has to be stout, right? You got to be able to put pressure on the basketball, and not
Yes.
allow plays to be seen to be made to her, right? So you can't be playing off of guards, right? And with I used to say penguin defense with your arms down here, because now you have sight lines. If you opponents, right by the ears, you got to have your hands up and active and take away those sight lines for those guards to get the ball into her. Number one, because if she can't touch it, right, with clean passes and clean looks, then you've done your job, right? And you're saving the post players from having to contend with her down in the trenches too. So I hear what you're saying, and I agree with that. Offense, going right into her defensively and try to sell it, but also you got to have some pressure on the basketball and take those sight lines away from the guards.
Yeah, that's a good point. Take sidelines away and pick them up early and take some of that shot clock away where you can't make your progressions. And,
Yeah,
you don't have a whole lot of time getting into your progression. So, yeah, I agree with you as well.
yeah. I mean, that's quite something. And I know, in the non-conference portion, I'm sure a lot of the Big Ten teams will be taking notes to see how other teams outside of the conference are going to contend with what UCLA is going to bring to the court again, with Cori Close at the helm running things. And I love it. I love it. I think I'm super excited to see what those looks are from opponents in the non-conference portion as well. And I'll be taking notes too because I'm intrigued to see what that could possibly be. But yeah, it should be an interesting year for UCLA and the Bruins out there in LA, along with USC, we already discussed. But bring it on to the East Coast, bring it on to the East Coast. And, Brenda Frese, she has just, in the last couple of years anyway, been really masterful in the transfer portal. This year, with Yarden Garzon coming in from Indiana, she is a lethal scorer from three, over 42% from range. Helen, another player who's going to come in with the ability to score the ball. But Brenda Frese at Media Day said that she was most impressed with Yarden Garzon's ability to pass the ball at 6'2". We're talking about sight lines. She has a great eye and great timing with that eye. What do you see with the addition of Yarden Garzon to the Turks?
I think just allowing them to space the floor even more. That was a big thing for them last year. But I don't think that they had, as I haven't seen the numbers, but just from doing their tournament game, this is going to be a consistent kid that can hit that shot. Like
Right.
It's going to be, I mean, not guaranteed, but it's going to be a consistent threat. So that's going to stretch defenses and allow some of those players to go one-on-one. You got I don't want to butcher her name, Okinawa from Duke, that
Played well.
that can score. So you're spreading the floor, allowing her room to create, for herself. And I think another important player for them is going to be Poffenberger.
Agreed.
I think she had more to give than she gave last year. I know she was a little bit injured as well, but I think there's more, from her that they can have. And then just Kaylee Schmeichel. The only improvement that I for her is she's got to become a better defender.
Yeah.
Because in the tournament, everything was take her off the dribble, take her off the dribble, take her off the dribble. Now she offensively, she's gonna get to the line, she's gonna pick her spot, she's gonna get fouled, she's gonna score, she can shoot. But there's where she needs to be better because they need her on the floor in the game. And if you have people constantly taking you off the dribble and you fouling, then you're not in the game. So I think that's an area where she's going to have to improve. So it'll be interesting. Those are the key ones. They lost Cheyenne Sellers, obviously, but I think they brought enough scoring in to make up for that. And I love Mira McLean. She, again, somebody nobody ever talks about, but she was so key in those games last year, especially the Alabama game, in guarding the ball handlers. Now she's 5'10", 5'11", 6 feet, but she's guarding, smaller, quicker players, and her lateral movement really caused some problems for Alabama in the tournament last year. Yeah. So she's coming back as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Mira McLean. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I know she was at UConn. Was it Kentucky before UConn?
I think it was UConn, then it was Virginia.
Virginia, you're right.
And it was Maryland. Listen, it's hard to keep up with these kids these days.
It's been
UConn to Virginia, and then I think she and Poffenberger knew each other before. They played together or something like that. I can't remember the story. That was in my notes last year for the tournament. But she again, she's just like a hot-ass kid from UCLA. Very necessary, but a lot of people don't talk about her.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, her length is disruptive. I think her ability to get to the basket is unspoken. We don't talk about that ability for her to attack enough. But I also think her ability to rebound is big time on both sides. Both sides. I mean, she's going to salvage your possessions with her aggression to the old glass. But I also think, when she gets those offensive rebounds, she's going to go right back up with it. She's got quick second jump. She's got bunnies, kangaroos, whatever you want to call them, but she's got them. Pogo sticks, put that in there too. But listen, Poffenberger, I know, is a solid rebounder. And I know that's what she did consistently well throughout last season. And I heard you say you wanted to see, more from her. What specifically do you want to see more of from?
I'd like to see her stretch the floor more with her. She can shoot. and I didn't think she was as aggressive last year. And again, some of that I do think she was a little bit injured,
Listen.
but she's going to need to score more this year
Mhm.
for them to be successful. Obviously, you brought in Garzon and you brought in the kid from Duke, but they're going to need a third scorer, right?
Yeah.
So is that her?
Interesting. I like that, and I'm intrigued by that. I know that Brenda Frese loves to set you up, right? So I know if she sets up Poffenberger to get more triples, whether they be transition threes or spray out situations, if Mira McLean is getting to the O board, she can't put it right back up, spray that thing out, see if she can get a couple of those clean looks because obviously the defense is not going to be setting those instances. She can get some wide open opportunities there. But I think it's going to be really intriguing to see what this iteration of Maryland basketball will be. I know
Yeah.
they've been pleased with some of the international players that they've added to the team as well. You're talking about Cheyenne Sellers. Yes, she was a solid scorer for sure, but she was also a staunch defender who was very versatile on the defensive side. But she also produced a lot of offense in terms of being an initiator. Maybe I think it was 4 or 5 assists a game. As a playmaker, who do you want to see step to the plate for Maryland this year?
I like the Okinawa kid. I mean, because she can score, but she can also facilitate.
Yeah.
And I think she's going to have a dual role for Maryland this year. She has that ability, and I think probably at Duke she didn't get to. She wasn't. I don't want to say the focus of the offense, but she didn't get as many offensive opportunities as she would have liked, I think.
Sure.
And so, with Brenda, setting those screens, I forget the kid that hit all the threes last year, the short kid that I loved, that transferred from VCU. Can't remember her name. But I
Uh,
see the same thing where, go ahead. Do you remember her name? I
oh,
can't.
yes, but go ahead, go ahead.
Anyway, just Brenda Frese set up a lot of screens on the ball, for her, and being able to read and to get downhill, or like you said, to spray the ball out. I think she's a good enough facilitator. So
Right.
again, I think she'll have a dual role this year. And she's going to have the ball in her hands a lot. Obviously, she scored like 18 the other night, so
Yeah.
she does have that ability.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see offensively what it looks like in the quarter court for Maryland. Schematically, I know defensively, I think they can be more disruptive. I think they have more depth where they can be more versatile on the defensive end too to get to the pace of play that they want. They want to rebound, run,
They want to go. They want to run.
rebound, run, and score. Right, steal, score, and run. All of it. But they can do that in a lot of different ways with a lot of different looks. So, what do you see non-conference for Maryland? And it was Tubiasu, Sarah Tubiasu.
Yes,
Yeah,
Iliasu, yes,
and
I love her.
I just wanted to make sure
I
that her name
That
that
kid,
way.
man, I
Yeah,
love watching her play. Thank you for
just
that.
yeah, because
So
that's such
they're
a fun.
playing NC State. NC State, their schedule is ridiculous. They
Yeah,
just beat Tennessee last night.
yeah.
NC State, they're playing Kentucky.
Mhm.
Kentucky's probably going to be. I haven't seen them play, but I know they had a really good transfer class. And they're going to play Princeton, who's probably going to win the Ivy League. So non-conference, those are the big ones.
Right. They also play Georgetown on Sunday at Maryland, which is going to be crazy for
I know
me.
you'll be. Wait. Are you have to cheer for your kid even though you're an
Yeah.
alum, right? Or are you going to wear one of those split shirts?
No, I'm not doing that Travis Kelsey mom split the jersey thing, man. I appreciate her for doing that. That's fun. But it's my baby, man. I mean, what are we gonna do? I mean, we see it right here. I mean, we already know. But that was me. That was my turn. This is her turn. But I will definitely be in the building. 1 o'clock Sunday in College Park, Maryland, which is gonna be super crazy. And I know people are gonna ask me like, "Where's your Maryland stuff?" But I'm saying it's at home on the wall. That's where it is, and it's on my heart, right? So
I'm being a parent, being a
that's
mom.
I'm a mom in this moment. I'm a mom. Yeah. So, but I love. They know. They know. I mean, I'm not gonna like. I'm not one of those moms that like cheers against other teams. I don't do that. I cheer for my baby's teams. That's it. And every single player on my baby's team, and not just my babies, I would cheer for the whole squad, all of them. And I don't cheer against anyone. So there's that.
Okay.
Wondering, even though no one was wondering, I was just setting the table for whoever may ask us. But that's that. But she is wearing number 15, the little flip of the 5 and the 1. And I don't know if it's because of me. I don't know. It's just her own thing to do. And then Jordan's wearing 6. I told him it was a combination, and he said no. But I think it is. But anyway, I digress. But anyway,
He's
that's
not going to admit it.
I don't remember. But I don't know. But it's going to be. I think that's going to be. It's going to be an interesting day for sure. But I know the men's team. They've upped that competition with Georgetown as well. I think they play on Friday at Maryland, so it's like the Maryland Georgetown weekend here in the DMV. So I think that's going to be fun to watch for sure. But levels 2 and on Sunday for me. But yes, the non-conference portion for Maryland. I think Kentucky, as you said, is going to be a tough competitive game. Kenny Brooks, we already know, took Virginia Tech.
You already know.
Yeah, I already know about Kenny Savant, that he is on the sidelines for them. But I think it's going to be really fun to see how Maryland gets through the non-conference portion of the season with the chemistry and all the things that you said you wanted to see, from Poffenbarger. I want to see how they utilize Garzone in the open floor, not just as a scorer, but as a facilitator as well. So I just think it's going to be fun to watch the chemistry, as in all teams across the country. But I just want to see how the chemistry continues to evolve and unfold. So Brenda Frese always gets the job done.
20th anniversary of the championship, right?
Say it one more time.
20th anniversary of the championship,
Oh,
NCAA championship, right?
Oh my God! Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Christy Tolliver, who should be a head coach by now, but I digress. Yeah,
that part. Don't get me started. That's a whole podcast by itself. We need to come and talk about the WNBA players coaching in the WNBA. Anyway,
I didn't get you started, but yeah.
Tolliver,
and over 600 wins, Brenda Frese. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah, no,
and she still loves coaching. I talked to her last year a lot about that and all the changes.
Oh,
and she's one of these coaches that she's like, I'm just going to evolve. I'm going to evolve. I'm going to adapt, and I still love coaching.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about the X's and O's. And some coaches have still been able to keep the main thing, and coached because of the Jills and the Jills, right? The people. There's still some coaches who are dealing with keeping that as something that they relish, right? And something that they cherish is the connectivity that they have with the families and the players who they're coaching, right? And you love to see that staying genuine, right? Even in this crazy, transfer portal-y, NIL situation.
She lost Karen Blair who's not the head coach at Georgia Tech. So she got a new assistant, I think the head coach from Stanford. I can't remember anybody's name today, but she came from Stanford. So it'll be interesting because again, that's another way a fresh perspective to get done what she likes to get done. The up tempo, the spreading the floor. So that'll be really interesting to see that too, because she has offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. So it'll be interesting to see what changes they make.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by that. But also, the baseline of things being, about the people. And I will say this before we get off Maryland. I know, I think it's been a couple of weeks now, but they named the locker room after Vicky Brick, who passed away.
Really?
Yeah, they just did that. Her parents were there, and they dedicated the locker room to Vicky Brick, who was a walk-on at Maryland when I was coaching at Maryland. She was from Baltimore. Her parents own Brick Bodies. It's like all these workout gyms, and they're just very established in the Baltimore community in so many ways. But I mean, she lost her battle with ovarian cancer, and it was so sad that she passed because of the fighter I know. I knew her to be. She had a daughter, was 5 years old. Oh, I don't want to go down that road, but I will just say that it was just a beautiful dedication to someone who loved Maryland, the state of Maryland, but also the University of Maryland, and just she was just a fireball of joy, of competitiveness. And for her to pass away like that was just super heavy. But I think, whenever I go back there, I'm going to go and take a look at the plaque that has her name on it, because of what she was able to do in a Maryland uniform, wearing number 12, VB12, is going to continue to make an impression every time those players and coaches go in and out the door there, and carry a little piece of her with them. So, ooh, okay. I didn't know I was going to go there with that, but okay. Anyway, lots of love to the Brick family and to the Chirps for honoring her in that way. Okay. Okay. I'm okay. You can say something. I'm on. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Well,
Okay.
I wanted to ask you what you thought about Ohio State because the in the preseason from the coaches they picked them fifth, from the media they picked them fifth, but then in the AP poll they only got votes,
Ah,
AP top 25. So
mm,
I'm just curious what you think about them. Obviously, they lost Cody McMahon to Mississippi,
right.
um, but they have Cambridge, they have Gray. I don't know. I want to know what you think about them. I don't have an opinion one way or the other, but I just
Yeah.
accept that I think they're intriguing.
Yeah. I mean, to be able to receive votes, but as you said, be in the top echelon in the Big Ten. I mean, that's kind of a conundrum right there.
Yeah.
But Kevin McGuff, I mean, he understands the assignment of what he has to do now in the absence of Cody McMahon, who was just a power pack player. Reminds me a lot of Alyssa Thomas on the collegiate level, with her ability to get downhill and get into a body and spin and finish. I mean, that spin move is almost, if you put them making that move next to one another, I mean, the similarities are just striking, but just the way that she played the game. She put pressure on the defense in a lot of different ways. So without her presence in there, I know it's going to look a lot different. Without them going to and through Cody McMahon, I think is going to be different. But hey, man, Jelani Cambridge is the business. Like, she's going to come to the floor and break you down with her ability to not just get to the cup, but her ability to defend. And I think that kind of went understated last year as a freshman. She came out there and just worked her tail off on the defensive side. I just remember, and now just thinking about her, I just remember her in the open court a lot because of her ability to just get those live ball steals and get down to the other side faster than anybody else. She was two steps ahead of anybody else once she got possession of the basketball. And as you said with Kayleen Smykel too, like with Jelani, like there were some games where she got in some foul trouble, and they totally need her presence on the floor. Like, she can ill afford to have spurts of time where she's out because she's saddled with some fouls. But her ability to put pressure on defenses, offensively, in the quarter court or the open floor, I think is going to be startling this season. I mean, it was like that last year for her as a freshman. And I think I remember Kevin McGuff saying, excuse me, I remember him saying last year that the one thing that stood out most to him about her was her ability to be fast and be quick, but not in a hurry, right? And to be able to stabilize that speed with wisdom as a freshman. And I
Mm,
and I think that in and of itself
you
is
said a word. You said a word.
period. But I think that's going to be something to look for to see if opponents can be disruptive to that speed, right? Sometimes when you have a player like that, you want to use their speed against them. And I was here, for John Wall when he first started in the NBA. He was 19 years old out of Kentucky after a year, and boy, he was on 100 every single time, and it worked for him sometimes. But then sometimes you saw opponents try to utilize his speed against him and make him rush decisions, whether it be to score or make a pass or a play as an initiator. But he figured it out. And I think, you saw maybe in John Wall's second year, it was that the game slowed down for him. You hear that said a lot. But what does that really mean? What do you think that really means to have the game slow down for you?
Um, it's kind of like I'll use a windshield wiper as an example. you have when it's raining really hard, that thing's going, back and forth really fast, and
Yeah.
you can't really see it. But then you can put it on the setting where it just goes every once in a while, right?
Yeah, draw.
So that's what that means to me when you talk about the speed with the wisdom and the game slowing down. It's yeah, I see this adversity coming to me, but I can see through that, right?
Right.
I can see, I know what my options are. I can figure those options, a lot quicker
I like that.
rather than just, it just everything's in front of me and I have no idea. I'm not as overwhelmed as initially. So
I like
it'll be
that.
interesting to see with that. And I'm also wondering who is their, you have Gray, who is their third scorer, or is that third scorer going to be the type of defensive pressure that they put where, all the time? Is that their third scorer? That's their offense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, it's another sister act over there, right? With Kennedy Cambridge, right? Jelani's sister. I think she had some games last year where she had the ability to open up the floor with threes, but also defend well from the perimeter. So I think that could be, the third scorer that they crave. But I think, on the inside, I think that's going to be where Ohio State's challenged the most on both sides.
Yeah.
And even with Cody McMahon, I mean, she was undersized in there, but I think with her ability to score downstairs, if you will, right there at the cup, I think they're going to need another player in there that can be an oak tree on defense and take away things in terms of protecting the rim, but also on the excuse me, on the offensive side, can Ohio State put pressure on teams and score on the inside, and not just with their guards' ability to penetrate and get into the paint and finish in there.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see how they, make that adjustment, and how that's going to work against different teams, especially teams like USC, UCLA.
Right. Yeah. That's
Which
what
still feels weird to me.
you
Talk
said.
about it.
What?
It still feels weird to me. Two California teams that
Yeah.
are in the Big Ten, but
I know.
um,
We're
yeah,
we're getting used to it. Yeah, it's a different world, and then you have Washington and Oregon too, West Coast teams. And I think, I don't have them on my sheet right here, but I know with Washington and Tina Langley, I think they're going to be one of the sleeper teams in the Big Ten in terms of
okay,
what they're going to be able to do, especially on the perimeter. I think they're going to be able to apply a lot of pressure, and not just defensively. I think they're going to be in attack mode on the offensive side and be more consistent with it. I think last year you saw flashes of that, and I think with their additions, I think that's going to be something to look for Washington. But I know, Michigan's going to have something to say about that. I do have them on my list here with the dynamic duo of
yeah.
freshmen last year with Silas Swords, and then you have Olivia Olson, excuse me, who both averaged 16 points per contest as freshmen last year. What do you see from that dynamic duo for Kim Barnes and Rico's squad?
Well, they both played international ball this summer for Canada, so I think anytime you have the ability to do that, you're going to grow
Yeah.
as a player because you're playing against a bunch of different styles, right? You're going to grow as a player. Your basketball IQ is going to grow. So yeah, the question is, can they be? They were fantastic freshmen. Can they be super sophomores?
Right.
Can Holloway be the third sophomore? For them. So it'll be interesting to see. They added this kid. I'm not even going to say what her last name is, but she was the Patriot League Player of the Year.
Okay.
19 points a game, 8 rebounds. Well, let me try. So Filkinich.
Okay.
If she's listening, sorry, I butchered your name, honey. But anyway, she's a player, and it'll be interesting to see how they incorporate her too. So uh, Kim is a great coach and great tactician. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't. They're if it's possible for them to be one of the best teams and be a sleeper, I can put them in that category because they could very well beat everybody.
Right.
So it'll be. I don't know if there's such a thing as being in the top five and still being a sleeper, but yeah,
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. I just think that the way Michigan played last year with really young players on the court. I mean, I think
yeah,
at times they had three freshmen out there who were giving teams the blues. the absolute blues, and not because they wear yellow and blue, whatever, but they were. I just thought about that, but I didn't mean it that way. But I just think because of how Kim Barnes-Rico has been able to utilize her lineup and her roster and the versatility of the depth that she can
Yep.
present on the floor. And I think, offensively, I always think about Michigan in terms of their offense and how they're able to attack. They lull you to sleep and then they crush you. And I think, you don't give credit enough to their defense, which has been top tier over the last several seasons. But we don't mention. I fall prey to that, right? I don't think I mention it enough because their offense is just so intriguing with how they, like I said, lull you to sleep and then attack you and finish. But I think on the defensive side, I think we need to talk about Michigan's defense a little bit more because of what they've been able to stir up on that side of the floor. What say you about their defense and what their defense has been able to present?
Yeah, I think they will have grown from what they did last year, and they can just build on that. That's what you expect from your freshmen, to grow from freshman to sophomore year, and I still expect them to put the same kind of intensity, and pressure. And I expect that their defensive IQ, basketball IQ, has grown.
Yeah,
Again, playing international competition, you got to play a bunch of different styles.
right.
So you've got to focus more on concepts and not specific things in terms of how you play certain actions.
Yeah.
So they will have they need to have grown in that area as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm anxious to see what that looks like. I know at Media Day for Big Ten, I know Olivia Olson was talking about Silas Swords and saying, sometimes when you have the best player on the floor, sometimes the best player always thinks, I'm the best player, get out of my way. I'm going to go and do it, do whatever I need to do for me. She said that Silas Swords is not like that as the best player on the floor. And for her, like, I'm just like, they both averaged 16. They were both impactful as freshmen. But to hear her, and she's sitting right next to her when she's saying this, and she was like, to have the best player on the floor not have an ego issue is something that is very refreshing and very different. But she respects the heck out of that kid, for that. And to say that right next to a teammate, so there's no ego for her either, right? To be able to offer that level of praise for her teammate. To be able to go out there and compete with no ego is a major deal. But to also be able to give your teammate the respect and the flowers in that moment, I thought that was very respect worthy and exactly what Kim Barnes-Rico is teaching that team outside of hoops, right? It's, hey, we're all out here doing the same thing for the same reasons.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see their game against UConn. That's going to be a really nice measuring stick. Louisville played UConn last night, and played them pretty tough there towards the end. But that's going to be a good measuring stick for postseason play in terms of how they do against UConn.
Yeah, I think there was a point in the second half in that Louisville game against UConn last night that Louisville had a major run and they were actually outscoring Connecticut in the second
Jeff
half.
Waltz, man, don't ever count Jeff Waltz teams out.
Just start grinding the juice out of the orange, man, trying to get everything out of that bad boy. Yeah, but it was a fun game to watch. But hey, UConn came to play. Sarah Strong was doing her thing. I think AZ Fudd also had 20.
Sarah Strong is so unfair. Chico, it's just so unfair.
She is unfair. Yeah. I mean, she's just so multifaceted, right? But to hear Gino Ariema say about Sarah Strong that it was almost kind of the same thing that you were saying earlier about, kind of stepping into not necessarily your stardom, but like what you were saying about Kiki Rice, like to be more aggressive with what you possess, with your skill set. Go ahead and use all of it. Push all the chips to the middle of the table.
Dominate.
Go for it. And I think he's kind of given Sarah Strong that same invitation, that written invitation, like, hey man, just go. Like, go ahead. And I think last year he said she was just trying to blend in, like I'm here when you need me kind of thing, But no, we need you right now. This year we need you, to go out and be your best self.
If you call blending a double in the championship game, okay.
Just over here on the side, if you need me, just tag me in and I'll come in and rebound or do whatever. No, this year he's like, look, you need to come in here and stomp a mud hole as soon as the game starts. Like we're not We're not waiting for you. We're not tagging you in. You're already in. Like you're here.
Yep.
So I just thought it kind of mirrored what you said about Kiki Rice, maybe about, hey man, it's time to go ahead and just go. Like just hoop. Like we're organic with it. We're just gonna ball out. So I'm interested to see that too. But with AZ in that mix as well, and we could talk about UConn too. But they have some, obviously they won the whole thing last year. Paige Becker is not on the floor, but she was in the building cheering for the Huskies last night, which I thought was also cute. So it's going to be a challenge when Michigan faces them. And again, I think in that game, I think it's going to be Michigan's defense that's going to make the difference in that contest. Obviously, we know what they're able to do in the quarter court once they, like I said, move that basketball around and try to get to the second and third sides and put pressure on the rotation on the defense. But I think that's going to be a really great game. And I think it's going to be a low scoring, defensive minded game. And that's going to be definitely one to circle for Big Ten non-conference for sure. The last team that I have here, it's Michigan State. And Michigan State, they put up 125 points in their game the other day. Was a record there at the Breslin Center, I think, for the first half points, which I think was over 60 or 70 or something like that. But it was a domination by the Spartans. And, when you're looking at what Grace Van Slooten is bringing back to the table for Robin Fralick and the team, what do you see from her specifically with her skill set, not just in the Big Ten portion of the season, but in non-conference play? How much are they going to lean on her to be their leader, not just statistically, but in every other way?
Yeah, I think she's got a big job this year, one that she's quite capable of doing. But I do think that they will be more dependent on her. They had a couple of good transfers: Jalen Brown from Arizona State, and Jones from Purdue. So it's not like there's a lack of talent there. But they're going to be, when they face adversity, she's going to be the one that's going to have to lead them through it. Whether it's just in terms of leadership or what she can do on the floor.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, she has USA basketball experience. I think that's going to be fun too. Like you were talking about with the Michigan kids having some international experience too, just to be able to see different kinds of coverages. I mean, she's an open floor player. I think she can put pressure on the defense in a lot of different ways. But it'll be interesting to see. And we're talking about Michigan's defense. I think Michigan State's defense was also at the top echelon in Big Ten competition anyway. And I think that's going to be something that Robin Fralick leans on heavily with her team. And they want to get it and go too. Now, they will push the tempo. What do you see in that regard for Michigan State on the defensive side?
I do see them pushing the tempo even more with their defense, with it being even more intense than it was last year. I mean, they're going to have to do that because I'm looking at, Charlie Cream's got like 13 of the Big Ten teams getting into the tournament. So, everybody's going to be beating up everybody every night. And so, they're going to have to come to play every single game. They're not going to be any games where they're going to be able to take, any plays off. So they're going to have to ramp it up, I think, even more this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, last year, 12 teams made it, into the tournament from the Big Ten. And for Charlie Cream to have 13 in the preseason. Wow, man.
Like way too early. Yeah. 68 teams. But it's a good gauge to kind of see, when you're looking at these teams and at some of these games at the beginning of the year are just awesome to watch because you're being tested for sure. And I give kudos to the coaches who are willing to subject is the wrong word, the teams, but to have them play that kind of competition early in the year, so that you can see what you're made of. And if, let's take a USC, is Jazzy Davidson going to be able to step right in and take over? Because everybody's going to expect her to be the woman. Can she do that as a freshman? Now she obviously has, help, but that's the kind of game where you test a kid like that. You test your best player that's coming in, and so it's going to be some great games here in the next 2 weeks.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I cannot wait for them. Any other Big Ten team you want to discuss before we bounce on out of here?
No, I think we covered them all. The sleepers. I mean, it's. I mean, there's some coaches I think who Oregon. I'm intrigued about Oregon. Let me just say that.
Talk to me.
And whether or not they can, they lost their top four scores. So can they? What's their offense going to look like?
Right.
Who's going to step up for them? That'll be an interesting storyline for me. Not too much in detail, but yeah, I'm interested to see what Oregon does.
Yeah, it's so funny because I love Kelly Graves, number one. He's so funny. But at the media day, and it wasn't when we were in media mode, we were kind of crossing paths in the busyness of it all. And he was like, "Hey, we don't have any size in there. Hey, I don't know if we can
Say it
score."
bagging. Say it bagging.
Yeah, he says that, but "Oh, bring it here." And he's gonna come out and like just tear you apart. But he's funny. But I know he said, like you said, there was a big turnover there with four starters being off the team now. But I think it's gonna be like very, like you say, intriguing to see how he can get all those puzzle pieces back together. But he was really like setting the bar here. So then when they do something, it's like, oh, well, look at that. I know.
Under promising so he can over deliver.
That's right. I love it though. He's so funny, but that's my guy, man. Kelly Graves. He always puts smiles on everyone's faces. But I know that he's going to bring it. I know he's going to get that team right. And through the non-conference portion for sure. To test out what his rotation will be. Solidly looking like come January when Big Ten competition begins. So yeah, for sure. But he was definitely like playing it low key in Chicago a couple of weeks ago. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, it'll be fun. What'd you say?
I said, smart man.
Yeah, I know. I didn't say much when I was coaching. I'm like, yeah, we're getting it together. We're working on things, working on it. We put it in the oven and see what it looks like after. But no, it's fun stuff. But I can't wait to get out there. What's coming up next for you? I know, we've got these officials calls where we get all the new rulings.
Officials calls and the beginning of the year calls, the ESPN, where they talk about all the stuff that I hope I remember, and
I know.
just trying to make sure that I give the officials grace. Every summer I go to officiating camp because I just want to see. I want to see what they're talking about, and so that I don't throw them under the bus. And not that I would agree with every call, but
right.
I like the fact, and this is totally off subject, but
no.
I like the fact that they do practice, they do watch film, they do talk about what the emphases of the year are. They spend time, their mentor doing the summer by the veteran officials. Like it's a thing for them. Like they're very serious about it.
Yeah.
And people, I think, either don't know or forget about that. So I just want to give them some kudos too. Like, yeah, they do work at it. So you can't just say they suck because you can't do what they can do. So yeah, for what it's worth.
I definitely can't. And where they have a camp and you can attend.
There are camps all year for people who want to move up or whatever. But it's like a coach's clinic. It's an officiating clinic. It's they have them all over the country. And I decided a couple of years ago, I was like, you know what? Let me just go. Because I'm always saying that I disagree with them, but I want to know what the premise of it is. And I don't, I don't take in everything, but I just really appreciate the fact that they spend time honing their craft. And that they care about honing their craft, and that people should give them some grace for that. But they think they just show up. Now, everybody's not a great official. Everybody's not a terrible official. And again, we don't agree with all the calls, but I at least know if someone made that call that it's coming from somewhere. It's not arbitrary.
Right.
So I was like, stop complaining about officiating. Go and see what they do during the summer to get better.
I respect that, Helen. You know what? Well, we need to talk because if there's one around here, I would like to just go be a fly on the wall with my little notebook. And
that's all I was a fly on the wall. I go in there, I get the schedule, I sit in the back. The first time I went, they introduced me. I was like, "Why? I don't want to." And I was like, "Listen, I do stuff for ESPN, and I don't want to throw you guys on the bus. I just want to know what you were doing." And they all clapped. I was like, "Oh
Oh,
my god!" So now I go and I sit in the back and I watch what they go over. They go over stuff on the film, and then they go out and they work on it on the court. So then I go out in the court and I see how they're trying to apply it, and obviously they're being coached by the veteran officials. So it's a really cool dynamic.
I love that so much. And now, I want to go. Now that's on my list of things.
I got you. I
Uh,
got you.
that and going to Paris. There we go. Those two things are right there on the same line now. No, I love, I love that. I love that so much. And I know, the season's right in front of us, and I'm going to be throwing that stone out soon and just hopscotching to all these different arenas, starting on Sunday there. But that's gonna be. I'll let you know how that goes. I'll text you.
Yeah, you'll have to text me and let me know.
I think it'll be all right. Oh, before we go, I do want to give a huge shout out to our good sister girlfriend Debbie Antonelli, who had a court named after her.
Yes.
Yes,
Go
baby. Oh my
Debbie.
God, how about that?
She,
How about
yeah,
that? And
just
she already has
one
a
of the
court.
best.
You said what?
One of the best.
Always, always. And Debbie Antonelli already has her number up in the rafters at NC State, which is also an incredible honor. But then now to have this court named after her, BMAC, tell us about what happened with Debbie Antonelli getting that court named after her,
Wait,
please.
wait. Before you say anything,
Oh,
is there script on the wall that says "shoot till your arm falls off"?
I hope so,
No,
man.
no, but I love the fact that you said her number is in the rafters because I couldn't wait to come on here and tell you that you're wrong. Her number is
What
not
is
on
it?
the rafters. In fact, it's her name and it's a big microphone underneath her name because they
Ooh,
want you to know she ain't up there for her playing days. She's up
why
there for
not?
what she did
Because
after her
she
playing days.
said
What?
that she
Come on.
was the
I didn't.
only starter who never scored or something like that. Like
She
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 started every
she
game but didn't score.
She coins herself the best non-stat starter in NC State women's basketball history. Yes.
Non-stat starter. Okay, see, okay, y'all are teaching me a lot in
Yeah.
this podcast. I did not know. First of all, I knew she was up there, but I thought her number 12 was up there, but it's not. It's a microphone. Okay, so I need to put that down in my where's my pen? I gotta write that down on my notepad. Okay.
Shoot till your arm falls
And
off.
what does it say? Does it have that up there, B Mac, on the
It
rafters?
should.
It
It needs to
should,
be
but no,
somewhere.
it has her name, the year she was there, in her the microphone. And I jokingly said because I saw the banner before they hung it up because I was there when they did it last year,
Oh,
and I said, "Oh, they wanted to make sure that people knew this wasn't for your playing days. This
oh,
was for
come
what
on,
you
man.
did after."
Oh, come on. Hey, now they should have put 12 like on the microphone
I agree. Yeah.
or underneath something. Like 12, I mean, she was a hooper. I'm not gonna agree with just having the mic up there. We need an addendum. We need an asterisk and a 12 on the
But no, the honor still stands. It was a beautiful ceremony and everything was great. All our family and friends were there. It was cool.
I love that. And then the court being named after her. I mean, how amazing is that? I did see that Debbie was wearing for the Tennessee game, she was wearing a sweater
Mhm.
that Pat Summit gave her in honor of Pat Summit. So she said anytime she had a Tennessee game, you guys, she was going to wear a piece of Pat Summit's wardrobe because Pat Summit never wore the same thing twice. So I respect that for the iconic winner and leader that she was. But I mean, Debbie Antonelli, man, what was that court ceremony like?
I mean, I didn't get to go, but I watched it online. So
Okay.
it was awesome. I mean,
Oh,
it's something that you like she said in her speech. It's not something that I was striving for, but when you get
cool.
things like that, it lets you know that what the work you're doing and the work you continue to do is honored, and
Oh,
that's all that she can take from that.
that is so sweet. Let the work you do for others speak for you. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the bottom line, the fruits of your labor is definitely evident, especially when you're talking about someone, the
Hey,
salt of the earth like Debbie Antonelli for sure.
I'm out there every May in that heat when she does the stuff in her driveway for the 24 hours for the Special Olympics.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do it in the Deb this year in the air conditioning.
In the Deb. Oh my God. I need to come to the Deb. Oh my gosh. Are they serving
Yeah.
lattes at the Deb?
No,
Because I'm going to get a latte and sit right there with you.
Yeah, we need ice. We need iced coffee so we can sit there and.
Ice latte.
I don't know about coffee, but I bet there'll be some liquor in there somewhere.
Not the liquor, the brown liquor. You get the brown liquor.
In the red cup. Yeah.
Not the brown, be mad. The only brown will be the lattes. Helen. Iced lattes. That's the only brown we're gonna have over there. But oh my God. Debbie Antonelli, we love you. Congrats, my friend, on all.
Congrats, Debbie.
Yeah, that's just big love, right, B Mac?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, oh my gosh, that's what we're gonna end this one on. With lots of love. We're just gonna be love out here. And B Mac, we thank you so much for being the savant that you are as the producer extraordinaire right here on the Her Hoop Stats podcast. I'm Christy Winter Scott for Helen Williams and B Mac. We love y'all. We love you, Debbie. Congrats, my friend. We'll see you guys next time.